Hello and welcome back to Reset. This episode I was initially going to record on my own. You guys have been asking for it. You've been saying, I want to know more about the baby journey. And I thought, okay, well, it actually takes two people to make a baby. And so I have a very special guest with me today. I have Alex, my partner, in the studio. Alex, welcome.
Hey, Ash. Thanks for having me.
I wanted to start this episode, though, by saying that everything that we share today is our personal journey. It is not intended to be medical advice. Like, I've had plenty of experts on this show that if you want to actually know a personalized plan of how to fall pregnant, how to survive postpartum, like, that exists. Alex does have a doctor title and does specialize in working with kids, but it's purely teeth. So we can do maybe, I don't know if anyone's interested, a full episode on kids' teeth one day in the future. But this episode is very much just like sharing our personal journey as if you were here on the couch with us. So what we've done is we've collated a list of questions that we have been asked over the past, 6 months almost. Alex is going to play the role of interviewer today, and I'm going to answer the questions. So, Alex, welcome to Reset officially.
Thank you, Ash. It's such a pleasure to be here. I've been Reset's biggest fan for a very long time, as you probably know. So, it's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. First of all, I love all of these questions, by the way. Your listeners have asked great questions. Number one, did you plan to fall pregnant?
This question actually came from my uncle, and I think a few people wanted to ask it indirectly, but he just asked me like pure love and curiosity. But we, I guess, have gone through life as very independent, career-focused, travel the world kind of people. And I think for some, it probably was a surprise that we decided to have a baby. So, yeah, it was a very conscious, intentional decision that has been a few years in the making. But yes, we did. We did plan on having this baby, and we feel very lucky that it's happened.
I completely agree. From someone looking at it on the outside, it might seem, oh, wow, is this a decision they've just come to, or is it something they've been planning for a while? And I think we both agree there's many different stages in our lives that we've been through, and right now this feels like it was an active decision and it's something we really wanted to do with each other.
Yeah.
Number two, did you always know you wanted to have kids?
This is another very good question. So I'm going to answer on behalf of Alex to begin with. And he's a yes. So I think if we didn't move to London, we kind of bought a house in Brisbane, white picket fence, would have loved to have kids and a dog years and years ago. But
you actually painted the picket fence white.
Yeah, I did paint the picket fence white and quickly realised that home renovations was not for me. But as any female listening to this knows, it's such a big lifestyle shift, whether we like it or not, for women. And so I had a number of things that I really wanted to do before I could see a baby coming into the world. And so, yes, it's kind of like something that I could see in my future, but it took me a long time to be able to see it in my present. Do you have anything to add to that?
It's actually been really cool following and obviously being on this journey with you, seeing how, I guess, you've evolved as a person, and you've always been so career-driven and focused and all of that sort of stuff, which is one of the reasons I love you. But there's been a big shift in the last few years where we've prioritised more things like health and wellness and setting ourselves up, I think, for this chapter.
Yeah, we've kind of approached all things in life where we lean right in and we have big goals for ourselves, and we kind of treated this process in the same way. And we thought, if we are actively going to bring a life into the world, then let's do it the right way. And that included a whole heap of lifestyle shifts, which we might talk about if it's one of the upcoming questions. But I think it was really a few years in the making to decide that we were going to move somewhere like the Gold Coast that would have an environment that would let us bring a baby into the world. But then 2 years of being here that really, like, I guess, shifted the way we lived our lives, from our sleep, from our alcohol consumption, from the food we eat, to the way that we just like slow down.
Life is very different now than it was when we were in London, hey?
Yeah, yeah.
The next question is, when did you find out you were pregnant?
I kind of thought, this is going to sound a little bit spiritual woo-woo, but a few days after what would have been conception, which was in mid-December 2024, I felt this little like ding inside of me. And
You actually said that. I remember that.
Yeah. And I said to Alex, I was like, this is going to sound strange, but I think something just happened. And then I did a pregnancy test that week. But as we know that, well, I know now, pregnancy tests don't show up positive straight away. It takes a bit of time for your body to go through those motions. So I had this ding, I did the pregnancy test, it's like, no, negative. And it's like, okay, well, it's been 4 days. And then we actually went to visit my family over Christmas. And if you remember, I got COVID while we were there.
Fun.
And so, yeah, I was quite sick and tired and just thought, oh, it's COVID. And I started to get a bit better from COVID. I started to get really hungry. And there was just a few little signs that in hindsight, it's like, oh, okay, maybe it wasn't just COVID. But we were actually packing the car with disco balls at the time. Alex said to me, he goes, oh, maybe before we go to the New Year's Eve retreat, which we were hosting, maybe you should just do a test. And it was literally 15 minutes before we had to be in the car. And I went into the bathroom. I was like, oh, I already did a test. Obviously, it was too soon. I already did a test. It'll be fine. Like, whatever. And I might put a photo on screen overlaying this. It was positive instantly, like so quickly. And I didn't know how to react. So I slowly walked out of the bathroom, avoided eye contact with Alex so I could just wash my hands and process.
I think I had like 6 disco balls in my hands at this point.
Yeah.
Taking them to the
Literally
car.
packing the car. And then, what did I say? I just said, it's positive. And I don't think you believed me at the start. You thought it was just like a silly, weird joke.
Yeah.
That I was
She's having a go.
Yeah. So yes, we found out on the way to the New Year's Eve retreat, which in hindsight was good because it meant that I didn't do the ice baths or the saunas. The food was really organic and beautiful and clean anyway, so that was not going to be an issue. And being a New Year's Eve reset retreat, it was a sober retreat. So again, that was fine. But it was really hard not to tell everyone that was at the retreat. I mean, guests become friends and I wanted to tell everyone, but it was too soon.
Yeah, I remember. And it was actually my first retreat that I wasn't working at. I was actually a guest as well, which is lovely. Yeah, it was a bit of a surreal experience, such a positive, reflective time. And also in the back of my mind, we're pregnant. Like there's a lot to take in. And so I think we both agreed, hey, look, let's maybe just park this for a minute. Obviously, you've got a lot of work to do, and being the host of a retreat's a lot of work. Let's just park it and we'll deal with it when we come back home.
Yeah, classic adult. We'll just suppress this for now and we'll process it later. But we were really excited, and it was very cool to be able to say farewell to 2024 and welcome in 2025 with this kind of new baby energy. But as we went along with this pregnancy journey, like I had no idea that, you know, the first milestone is, do you physically fall pregnant? But then there's all these milestones along the way and different checks that are done that I guess, one of the reasons why we're not doing this podcast until now. I initially thought we would have done it months ago, but our baby is currently 21 weeks old, and that was kind of the final milestone check of scans and health and all these sorts of things.
I don't know if the stress ever goes away. So obviously there's these milestones where you get this test, you get that test, you get this scan, and you're ticking boxes and everything seems good. And then I speak to parents with new kids and then 1-year-olds and then 2-year-olds, I don't know if that stress will ever go away. So I think we might need to prep ourselves for that.
Yeah, we started telling our immediate family as soon as we got the scan where we saw an active heartbeat. That was very surreal and exciting. And then, yeah, I think it was quite early on in the journey. What week was that?
It was week 9.
Yeah, week 9. And so I think it was met with excitement from our families, but also hesitation because unfortunately, as I'm becoming more and more aware of, the risk of miscarriage is still quite high in those early phases. And as you go through all these different tests along the way, there's chances that they can find different abnormalities and things. And so thankfully, we're at week 21 and baby is totally fine. I also think, and a friend of mine told me this years ago because she did the same thing. She started telling people very early in her pregnancy journey that she was pregnant. And she said, which I really resonate with, if something was to go wrong on this journey, I wouldn't want to experience it alone. I would want to have my friends and family around. So I think, yeah, we just started sharing with people, but I didn't want to share publicly like this until now. There was just this resistance to it, but
Yeah, it was with a close group of family and friends.
Yeah,
which would have been our support network had anything gone wrong. So, Ash, how long did it take you to fall pregnant?
This is a good question. And I know a lot of people that spend years trying to physically fall pregnant. We were lucky in terms of to physically fall pregnant. It was third time lucky. And it was in our new apartment. And I feel like the baby, again, sounds a bit spiritual, chose that apartment. We were actually looking for an investment property at the time, not somewhere to live. Long story short, it just felt right. And so we moved in there. But in reality, it was 2 years of prep, prep time, prepping our minds and our bodies, creating the right environment that we could see a child being brought into, and quitting alcohol, eating clean, getting the right amount of sleep. What else? We were both taking supplements for a long time. And I think that's important to mention as well. A lot of women know that they should take supplements in advance before falling pregnant. But there's great things out there for men as well, which all of my nutrition friends recommend for guys. So listen to the episode with Grace, the fertility nutritionist. I can link that in the show notes, but she talks about male health as well. But yeah, I honestly think we probably spent 2 years prepping our minds and bodies, particularly me. I think I knew when we were moving back to Australia that babies were on the cards for us, but it took me a long time to mentally be there. And there was a lot of things that I still wanted to do with Reset. I wanted to do overseas retreats. I wanted to do corporate retreats. I wanted to launch this podcast. I wanted to get this beautiful community and foundations of a network of suppliers and partners that I work with before I could see a baby coming in to the world. And so, yeah, I think really it was a 2-year preparation journey.
I agree. We're quite blessed, very fortunate and lucky that it only took 3 months of trying really to fall pregnant, but there's so much behind the scenes work over the last couple of years. And I think you can't overstate how important it is having that right support network. Thankfully, you have all of that with all of your friends and colleagues and doctors and all the people around you, that it was a lot of work. And thankfully, it paid off because we were very, very blessed.
Yeah, and like we approach anything in life, we wanted to do it really well. And so I did work with my friend Grace, the fertility nutritionist, like I mentioned before, to do blood tests and make sure that my body was in optimal health. But then we also made sure that Alex's body was in optimal health as well, so that if we're consciously choosing to bring life into the world, let's set this baby up for success with the best start possible.
Let's be the best versions of us as well.
Yeah.
Yep. How does it feel to fall pregnant in your 30s?
I guess if you asked younger me, when I would have kids and all that sort of stuff, it would have probably been earlier than, we're both 36 at the moment. But honestly, it just didn't feel like the right time in our lives until now. So yeah, I feel good. I think we're probably the healthiest we've been in a long time. mentally, physically, like financially, it's a good time to bring a baby into the world. And we didn't know, because you are told all these things like it's a geriatric pregnancy, like good luck falling pregnant in your 30s and things like that. But thankfully it was a smooth journey for us. So I'm excited, and we'll do whatever we can to stay fit and healthy for as long as possible to be great parents. But yeah, I think mentally I would not have been ready to have kids 10 years ago.
I think I was probably ready 10 years ago. And then I very promptly was not ready when we moved overseas.
Yeah, it just would have been a very different experience. I mean, we would have made it work, like everything in life, you just work around it. But I think, yeah, the time is now.
That brings me to the next question, Ash.
Oh, what is it?
Are you finding out the gender?
Yeah, type A personalities. Of course, we found out the gender. And I'm excited. I want everyone that's listening to this, now that you've kind of got to know me throughout these podcasts, but hopefully you're getting to know Alex as well. Like, I would love you to just have a little guess in your head of what you think the gender is before we reveal it. Okay, time's up.
Drum roll.
So it blew my mind that literally at 12 weeks, you can have a blood test and find out the gender of your baby, because your baby's DNA is running through the mom's DNA. Like, it seems like something out of a sci-fi movie to me.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And so, yes, we did find out the gender, and you hear like this mother's intuition, you're like, oh, do you just know? And we were backflipping for the weeks leading up to this sort of test. And then 2 nights before getting the results, both of us actually had a dream, which I thought was really cute. We both had dreams that our baby was a little girl, and I dream almost every night. Alex doesn't dream often, so for him to have that kind of intuition and download was really cute. But anyway, so the practice called, and I went and said, okay, I'm going to pick up the gender results in a little envelope so that you and I could discover what our baby was at the same time. And when I'm walking out of there, I'm holding the envelope, and again, sounds a little bit spiritual or woo, but I just get this kind of overwhelming feeling that this baby is a girl and her name is Rose. And I was walking back to the car and I was like, all right, not a name that I'd thought of, but maybe our baby has just named herself. I'm not sure. Let's just get home, open the envelope with Alex. And so we kind of toyed with the idea of, do we get a bakery to make a cake and we can cut it and see the color, but we couldn't really wait for that. We're a bit impatient. Like, I had this little envelope with the most exciting news in it. So I just bought a random caramel mud cake or something on the way home so we could still eat something sweet.
It was great.
It was great. And then we opened the envelope together, and I might put a photo on screen. Yes, so our baby is a little girl. And then I told Alex, I said, also, it's going to sound strange, but I think she's named herself. How did that feel?
Yeah, look, it was interesting because partly you also were trying to sneak a glimpse of what was inside the little envelope. And they're very clever. They're really, really smart. They don't just write it on a piece of paper. It's a dark card that's folded so you can't see inside. Because knowing you're like, thank you for the envelope, let me know right now.
Yeah, it was so hard. I was texting some friends and they're like, how have you not opened this envelope yet? Because I was waiting for Alex to come home from work. And I said, well, I did hold it up to the sun to see if I could see through this envelope. And yeah, like he said, when you open it up, it is literally like a dark card that has
sticky tape.
The branding on the outside.
Together.
So that's the text that you can see. And it's not until you open it that it says, yeah, she's a girl. So yeah.
Yeah. Look, it wasn't one of the names we were sort of floating at the time. Thankfully, I love it, and very appropriate wearing a little jacket with roses on it. It's very cute.
Junie's store is actually just across the road from the podcast studio. And so when I saw that they released this really cute range with roses on it, I was like, oh my God, I have to get one of those and wear it for this episode. So I literally just ran across and grabbed it before jumping in the studio now to record. But yes, so our baby is a girl and her name is Rose, and I actually love it. I think the name is really timeless and beautiful, and I don't know, Alex can share his opinion in a second, but I found that it's really helped me to bond, to know the gender and to know her name, and all of our family now refer to her as Rose. Like, how's Rose going? Like, how big is Rose this week? And things like that. And so, yeah, I don't know anyone else who has referred to their baby as their actual name while being pregnant. But if it's something that you're into, or like you guys have a name, or I highly recommend it. I think it's cute. I think it's fun.
Yeah, just go for it.
Just go for it.
Look, I think it's taken a lot of pressure off me and maybe you as
me,
well, not
yeah.
to have to, hey, what about this? What about that? And argue and come together with something. And, you know, it's actually kind of cool that she's named herself, perhaps.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I think about it.
Yeah, I like that energy of, okay, we've got this little girl who's confident enough to just be like, this is my name in this lifetime. Let's do it. And okay, we'll run with it.
Yeah. Have you had any morning sickness or any weird cravings?
I wish I had weird cravings. And I've said this to a friend the other day. I was like, I wish I was just craving something strange, like pickles and chocolate or whatever. Because then I have, fun memories of this time. But no weird cravings. I just had trimester 1 was very beige. I ate a lot of hot chips.
I've never eaten more chips in my life, I think, than those few months.
Which
it was
really,
fantastic.
really surprised us, because in the lead up to falling pregnant, like we were saying, we kind of spent 2 years getting our bodies very clean, very healthy. And then to finally fall pregnant and literally just pump it with carbs and kind of junk was a surprise, but that's what I felt like. And then I really hit a turning point around week 12, I think. And I started to crave fresh, cold fruit was like the vibe. And now my diet is pretty much back to normal, excluding the things that you shouldn't eat when you're pregnant. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which is actually a fair few things. If no one's aware of that, you should look it up. Ash, what has surprised you about being pregnant?
How much I really love having a belly. I in the past would be conscious around, you know, what I would eat before wearing a tight fitted dress or wearing a bikini at the beach or something like that. I love having a belly. It's so cool. It's so cool. I guess another thing that surprised me is just how calm and content I feel. So anyone that knows me in person, or I guess it probably even comes up with the topics that we talk about on this podcast, but I, in the past, have always been hustling and like building something. But I think that creative energy is being used very much to build a human right now. And so for the first time, maybe my whole adult life, I've just felt really grounded and okay with being in a, I guess, slower season, like growing her organically, if that makes sense. Yeah.
I wouldn't really call it a slower season. You're doing a lot of very important work. So, yeah, don't downplay that. Ash, what is your birth plan?
Oh, yeah, everyone wants to know. And I get it. I'm curious too. Like when I speak to someone that's pregnant, like, ooh, how are you planning on giving birth? For me, I am opting to do an elective cesarean. It just suits my personality type, I think, to have something that's planned and know what we're going to go through. My pain threshold and my ability to deal with like blood and all that sort of stuff is not good. And so, yeah, elective cesarean.
And I think I support you no matter what you choose. And we've talked about that before. And I think that's really important as well, is everyone's on the same page. Yeah, for me, it would have been whatever you're comfortable with, I think, is the most important thing. I've got lots of friends in the medical field, and lots of them are saying things like elective cesarean, you know, provide the support that people need, and is, you know, it's a journey like any sort of birth journey is. But I think for us, as you said, it sort of suits our lifestyle and it suits our kind of wanting to plan for things and that sort of perspective.
Yeah, and of course there's a recovery like any form of birth, but it's just feels a little bit more predictable. So yeah, that's what we're doing.
And have you registered for daycare, and what school are you planning to send your baby to?
Oh my gosh, we had no idea that this was something we had to consider this early on, but everyone that has kids brings it up. So yeah, Alex, do you want to answer this one?
Oh, look, I'm terrified. This is something that like stresses me out and keeps me awake at night. There's so many different options when it comes to daycares and schools, and our background is you went to a public school, I went to a private school. I don't have any strong feelings either way. I think it's more important of what the school offers the child and what the child is like and where they will thrive. And it's really hard to make those decisions without knowing them. So a lot of these things you kind of have to decide when they're born or before they're born. So I feel like it's going to be a pretty busy first couple of weeks, first week in the hospital anyway, and then first few weeks at home. So I think we'll figure it out. It's a journey, and we'll keep doing some research.
If anyone has recommendations for schools and daycares, please send them to us. But yeah, we've been told by a lot of friends that have kids that literally the father's role in the hospital on day one is registering for schools. And apparently you can register for daycares even now, like while she's still in the womb, which blows my mind. And so I did start to do a tiny bit of research into daycares. And now my head is spinning of like, okay, well, I don't like the food that they serve at some daycares. Do I really want to be away from my baby for that long? And should I be opening some kind of cool co-working space for mums and babies? And we have a chef on site that does beautiful organic meals for everyone. I don't know. I don't think that's part of my business plan, but who knows what can happen? But yeah, our head is not quite around schooling just yet.
Are you going to breastfeed?
I'm going to try. Yeah, I'm going to try.
Give it a go.
I'll give it a go. But I think, I'm trying to go into this whole pregnancy journey with a lot of compassion for myself and my body and not putting pressure on certain expectations, and breastfeeding is one of them. So we'll try, but if the baby has to end up being part formula fed or full formula fed or breastfed, we'll just cross those bridges. But yes, I will try.
I think the most important thing is, as you said, that you're kind to yourself and we're kind to each other. Listening to some of your lovely guests and the psychologists coming into the studio, hearing about things like postnatal depression, and it's great that there's a lot of awareness these days of these problems, but I feel like there's a lot of pressure that goes onto women, and thankfully these days there's the support either way. So if it's something you can do, if it's something you want to, fantastic. But lots of women, as you've had on your show, they can't do it. And so there's a lot of stress that goes into that and emotion. And so as long as you're feeling supported, I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I love the episode that we did with Anna, and I'll link it in the show notes, around postnatal depression. And it's top of mind for me because a lot of the women in my world who have experienced postnatal depression go from being very high achieving, successful career women to then being in this space where just because you work harder at something doesn't mean you're going to get better results. And it kind of sneaks up on you, and it can be something that maybe you've never experienced depression in your life before, and then suddenly it captures, like just ends up being all consuming, and it's hard to ask for help and all this sort of stuff. So I am nervous around that, but like you said, it's just awareness and asking for help maybe before it gets to that breaking point. Easier said than done, but we'll cross that bridge.
Mm-hmm. And how are you preparing for the transition from being a family of 2 to a family of 3?
Oh, cute. I feel like we're already a
nice
family
question.
of 3,
Yeah.
which is fun. Yeah, I guess it's so hard to know until we're in it and she's like earthside with us. But we have done a bit of talking around the role of modelling, and not like modelling for a camera, but relationship.
Child star.
No. Relationship modelling, and how she's going to grow up viewing relationships and like showing up in relationships however we show up as her parents. Like that subconsciously will happen whether we plan for it or not. So making sure that we are kind to each other, and perfection doesn't exist. And I know that we're going to, with all the knowledge in the world, still make mistakes as parents, but I think it's how do we show up with compassion for ourselves, kindness for each other, still making time for each other outside of being mum and dad. Like how do we still be us as a couple and spend solo time with baby Rose? And I don't know. What else are we doing? I think we're just going to have to learn on the fly. But
yeah, I feel like you've been trying to prep me subconsciously or consciously for the last few years. When we started having these conversations, you'd play a little game where you'd say, I don't know if you remember, but hey, where's the baby? We'll be doing random things, I don't know, walking through the street or whatever it may be. And you would just say, where's the baby? And I'd immediately have to think of an answer. Oh, I don't know. Depends what we're doing, like strapped or in a little carrier or whatever it may be. But I'm just reflecting on, if we were back in London, it's, 3 a.m, we're leaving some sort of random nightclub or whatever we're doing. And if you were to ask, where's the baby? It's like, oh, thankfully that was a certain different time of life. And right now I'm a lot more confident in my answers. When you ask, where's the baby? I'm like, I've got this. Like, I think we'll figure it out. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, that all started because I think at the time I was posting a lot on TikTok and I ended up going quite viral. Like some of my videos got almost 2 million views, but it was all around what's it like to be in your 30s with no kids. And I think it started to make Alex a little bit nervous of, oh, does Ash actually even want kids? And so he sat me down one day and had the chat, and it was like, I just want you to know and remember that like kids are in my life plan, and I want to make sure they're in yours. If they're not, that's okay. But then we've got some decisions to make. And I, at the time, was very much pushing my limits of career and socializing and travel and life and all that sort of stuff. And I literally could not see a baby in that environment. And I just wanted, my imagination can like play out scenarios of the future really quickly. And Alex is very much in the present. And so I did start saying like, okay, well, if we want to have a baby, the current environment that we're in doesn't suit that. And so it was a fun game. I think even when you're at festivals, sometimes I would text you and be like, where's the baby?
I'm like, I don't know.
Where's the baby right now? Like it just couldn't work in that season of life.
This is true. Yeah. So how much time are you taking off?
This whole year have not done any overnight retreats, any full day retreats, I've done workshops and this podcast, which has been beautiful, but I've really scaled back and just tried to be in this like growth, surrender to mom mode. I am going to batch record enough episodes to be able to take 3 months out of the studio if I want. So that's my plan, 3 months. And then the in-person work that I need to do is not full-time. Like I'm in the studio, which is amazing with the epic guests. And then a lot of it happens behind the scenes, which I might naively be thinking that I can still be working with the editor, Tom, and like doing all the reels and stuff behind the scenes for social in the future. And then your answer to this one?
I think it's going to be really hard to keep you out of this place. Like you are so driven and obviously so motivated and love all of what you do. So I think, it's going to be a bit of a journey for you, but I think you're going to crush it. It's going to be great. For me, I honestly still don't know, still haven't quite figured that out. In my field, I don't get things like paid leave and paternity leave and that sort of thing. So I'll just be taking some time off, obviously helping everyone out. I think at least a few weeks for me is sort of my answer at the moment. But with that said, don't know. I'd love to take 12 months. But I just don't think it's realistic at the moment.
Yeah. And then Alex is scaling back work to be working 4 days a week, which is really nice. It means I'll have a predictable day a week that I can do recordings, and then often the workshops and retreats are on weekends anyway. So hopefully we can tag team a bit and create some form of new normal.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And what is your nursery going to look like?
We are not going to have a nursery. So we live in a 2-bedroom apartment in Nobbies, which we love the area. Like to be able to walk to the beach and all our favourite restaurants and stuff is great. When we first found out we were pregnant, we were like, oh, do we need to move and get a house? Do we need something bigger? How do we have a nursery? How do we have space for guests and all this sort of stuff? But we kind of, long story short, came to the conclusion that we like our area and lifestyle is important, and we're not going to leave there for at least the first year of her life because we can't afford a $4 million house just yet. And so she's going to sleep in our room, and then our spare bedroom, which is currently a home office and a bit of a storage room. I don't know, maybe we'll eventually convert to a temporary nursery. But if we're renting out our apartment after 12 months or something, I don't think anyone wants like a baby's room. They're going to want it to be a normal bedroom. So we're not we're not investing a lot of time to make the beautiful Pinterest nursery that she's not going to appreciate anyway.
I think I love, as you said, I love where we live. I love our little apartment. It's cute. We've done some renovations. I think it's really nice and comfortable. And I think it's really important that you've also got like a support network in Nobbies and where we live. You know, you walk down the street, you see the same people, you have your chats, and it's really lovely. It's a great community. And I think if we were to move somewhere to have a bigger place, to maybe be able to have family over and stay or something like that, that's fantastic. But you'd be sacrificing just your day-to-day community sort of feel. And you know, as the saying goes, it takes a village to raise a child or something like that. And I think we've kind of got it where we live.
Yeah, and I think during that postpartum phase, which, like I said, I am nervous about, just being able to walk to cafes and the beach and shops and it's flat and see familiar faces and just have that community around me, I think that's kind of one of the recipes that will set us up for success. So no nursery at this stage, going to be quite minimalistic with what we have. And yeah, as long as she is safe and loved, then I think it'll be fine.
They're the most important things. Are you guys going to have a baby moon?
Oh, lots of people ask this.
They do.
Yeah, we just got back from Lord Howe Island, which was beautiful. That was not a baby moon. That was a cute family trip, very wholesome. I don't know how long I'm going to feel good for, like if we're going to feel like flying or anything, but probably not. Maybe we'll just do some weekends away that are driving distance here. I don't know, we kind of live in a beautiful area.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you plan on having more kids?
Oh my gosh. We haven't
That's actually from me.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
At this stage, honestly, so happy with the idea of one. I think she's going to be awesome. Like, it's going to be such a lifestyle shift, and we can't possibly know that answer until she's here and see what we're like as parents. And yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I think that there's some people out there that they dream of, I want 3 kids. I know what I want and I want 3 kids, or whatever it may be, which I think is awesome. And they're really blessed to be able to know what they want. I think both of us are on the same page. We really are not quite sure. We'll just see how we go with one happy, healthy child. Like, let's do our best, and then we can reassess that decision later on.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer. Okay, I feel like that was a good start to sharing this pregnancy journey with everyone. And I'm sure, like, if we jump in the studio again after baby is born, she's due end of August. Once she's born, our opinion on some of these things are probably going to change wildly, and that's okay. I think, like anything, giving ourselves permission to grow and pivot and change through life is a really nice gift. And so hopefully this has been helpful for you guys and interesting. If you've liked having Alex and I in the studio, like on the couch with us, we can do more topics in the future. I think he's had fun being here.
This has been great.
Yeah, I can't wait to introduce Rose in person on the podcast one day. I think that'll be really special.
Probably be a bit sleep deprived.
Yeah. We'll need some good lighting, but I'll be able to have Botox again at some point in the future, which is one of the things, I guess we didn't ask the question around, like, what do you miss most about not being pregnant? And honestly, Botox, like I do miss Botox. It's a guilty pleasure no matter how healthy and clean I get. It's like, it's something that just makes you glow, especially when you're in your 30s. But yeah, thank you so much, Alex, for joining me, and thank you everyone for listening.
Thanks, Ash.